Hi, and welcome to Check Your Thread, a podcast about sewing more sustainably. My name's Zoe, and I'm obsessed with sewing. I've been blogging about it for over 13 years and am the creator and host of the popular handmade wardrobe challenge, Me Made May. But like many people, I've become increasingly concerned about the climate crisis and the way my lifestyle contributes to it. So in this podcast, I'll be nerding out about making clothes whilst exploring how to minimise the negative impact that it may have. I really hope you'll join me on this journey. Hello, lovely listeners. It's episode 7 of Check Your Thread. How are you doing? I hope all your sewing and sustainability endeavours are filling you with joy. If you're on Instagram, have you checked out the Sew 50 Sustainable Sewing and Recycling Remnants hashtags yet? I really recommend that you do. There's so much good stuff on both, and you're bound to find a heap of inspiring ideas to get your creative cogs turning. So this week I finished off my autumnal valley blouse that used a piece of precious stash fabric. I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out, but the proof will be in the wearing, which I've yet to do. I made a couple of changes to the pattern. So I lengthened the sleeves because on my first version of the valley, I found that it does that annoying thing where the elastic can't decide which side of your elbow it wants to go when you bend your arm. I had less fabric than the pattern calls for, plus I knew that I wanted to lengthen the sleeves, so I've ended up shortening the overall length of the front and back pieces. So far I think it's okay, but once again I haven't really worn it yet, so I'm not sure. I'm really glad that the lovely fabric is now on my clothing rail rather than my stash though, because now, even though I haven't had a chance to wear it, I have been admiring the print whenever I look over at my rail, so that's a win. So something more directly related to sustainability, I've made a pair of period pants using a pattern and kit that was given to me by Sew Projects. I got to try them out this week also, and I'm going to do a review post on my blog and personal Instagram account over the next week or two. Plus, I think an episode on making reusable period protection should happen at some point as well. Plus, massive thanks to 3 superstars, Monica, Trina and Susan, who all became patrons of Check Your Thread over on Patreon this week. I'm thrilled that they decided that they liked the podcast enough to want to contribute towards guaranteeing future episodes. If you'd like to join them in supporting the podcast, please find the link in the show notes or on the website checkyourthread.com. Okay, this week's episode. I've been dying to share this one with you. It's Riccardo! So this conversation was recorded a few weeks ago and I cannot even tell you how much I enjoyed it. We all know Riccardo Guido from watching him on season 5 of The Great British Sewing Bee and already know that he has an amazing, engaging personality. But, as I tell him at the beginning of the conversation, he's one of my very favourite people to follow on Instagram because he has such a considered, intelligent approach to making clothes and is so fearless in what he does. This was a fun, free-ranging conversation about his experimental approach to garment making, and I'm so happy that you're about to listen to it. Enjoy! Hi, Riccardo. Welcome to the Check Your Thread podcast.
Hello, Zoe. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for sharing some of your day off with me. I really appreciate it. Would you mind introducing yourself to the listeners?
Yes. Hi, guys. My name is Riccardo. I am one of the finalists of the Great British Sewing Bee season 5. If you've watched it, if you haven't, you can catch up on the BBC iPlayer, still available. I'm Italian. I came to London 15 years ago and I started sewing almost immediately. I found some courses in the community center nearby my house, and my first course actually was pattern cutting, and I loved it.
Amazing. So you started straight with pattern cutting?
Yeah.
That's bold.
The thing is, I didn't know how to sew either. So I thought, let's learn like how to create a garment before learning how to put it together. And I loved it.
That's such an interesting approach.
It is, because actually exactly like I don't use as many commercial patterns as like a sewer would do, because I started to know how to create a block that fits you, and from there how to sew the different blocks. I loved it. And I remember there was the only course, only pattern cutting course available. And I used to do it on repeat, one after the other, maybe for like 2 years until they put the next level.
Amazing. So what was it about your move to London that it made you think, right, now's when I'm going to start to sew?
Well, okay. My mom used to sew. My mom had like, she was a sewer, not professionally. She had a passion, like as a hobby. And I remember seeing sewing and always wanted to learn how to sew. But I don't know, somehow, when I was young, I wasn't very into it. Although all my clothes were like amended or adjust or shortened by my mom. And I don't know, I've tried when I was at university before coming to London in Milan, but they were very expensive. And as a student, it was quite like, it's not, at least when I was in Milan, it wasn't as common as it is now. So it was either like in a fashion university, I think it was too expensive. And when I came here, I found out that they were doing sewing classes in a community center.
So you're like, now's my chance.
Exactly. And I started, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago, and I never stopped.
Amazing. So good. So I have to say that you are one of my very favourite people to follow on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
Not only because you create amazing garments, but also because I really like your approach to sewing. To me, you seem both kind of really considered and thoughtful in what you do, but you also seem pretty fearless as well. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I do like to try new things and just go for it.
Yeah. So you sew a lot with leftovers, scraps fabrics, and you do a lot of upcycling and you reuse existing textiles. So you did that pretty soon after you started sewing, didn't you? That was your approach from the beginning.
The thing is, okay, mainly when we joined the sewing classes, I made really close friends. Like we have 4 of us that we keep doing over and over the same class. I don't know, everything started when, for example, some of your friends at sewing is, I don't know, is making something with an amazing fabric. You're like, oh my God, would you use that fabric after you're done? No, you can have it. And this is actually how it started. Plus, in the classes where we have, when you do like all your cuttings, if there are big pieces left, you don't throw them away. You always leave them for some other students. You can use them when you make a toile, or sometimes like you can make your final garments. And I always tried it from the very beginning to use all these leftovers. First, because it makes it very challenging.
Yeah.
Well, not challenging. It's very interesting the fact that you can create a fabric using small pieces, and then you can create your pattern, your drawings, anything. And second, having done pattern cutting, I know the shape that I needed in order to create something.
So you've got a clearer perception of what you're hoping for from the beginning.
And it's just like putting all the pieces together until you have that shape.
Sure.
I haven't bought clothes, I can't remember now, I don't know.
Really?
Like maybe new, at least like maybe 4 or 5 years or even more. Generally, it's either charity shopping or make my own.
I was going to say, do you like to go charity shopping?
Absolutely. But the thing is, since forever, when I was in secondary school, behind my school, there used to be a second-hand clothes market. And I remember sometimes, I mean, I shouldn't say this, and I shouldn't encourage people, though. I used not to go to school on Friday just to go to the market and get my stuff.
Anyone that's going to school listens to this podcast.
Exactly. But yeah, I loved it since forever. I don't know, first because I love clothes that have stories or clothes that come from somewhere else. Because, for example, at that time, there were a lot of Eastern European garments.
Interesting.
And you could see this amazing, I remember, for example, these ski suits or everything with like 70s collars and so like colorful. They were amazing.
Oh my goodness. I want to get like 3 of them and make an amazing puffer coat.
Yes, I was obsessed. Exactly. They were all like perfect. They were brilliant. And you wouldn't find those kind of garments in Italy nowhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. I have a good friend of mine called Sylvia who grew up in Italy, actually near Milan. In fact, she's the lovely lady that designed the Check Your Thread logo. Anyway, she told me that at least when she was growing up, I don't know if it's changed now, that there weren't very many charity shops in Italy. No. But it sounds like there were secondhand clothing markets.
Yeah, exactly. Like now it's more common, the idea of charity shop in Italy. But at the time, no, it was more easy to find a second-hand clothing market.
And so that used to plunder that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Same. When I can imagine coming from like that kind of clothing shopping, you come to London with all the charity shops. I was like, wow.
Yeah, what were your thoughts when you discovered charity shops?
And the funny bit, like what I love about charity shops here was, depending the area where you shop, you find different things.
That's so true. I love that.
For example, my favorite, even though I don't live there, but I used to work there, is the area of Streatham. You find amazing stuff there.
Yeah. So when you go into a charity shop, what's your strategy? What are you looking for?
Well, okay. For example, something that I do it, all my trousers are from charity shops. And sometimes when my jeans are completely destroyed, I go and buy something, go and look for them. But I guess this is the thing with the charity shop. Like you go because you're looking for a pair of jeans, and then an amazing jacket is in the corner. And just like, no,
Yeah.
I
You
can't
can't
even
predict, can you?
exactly no. But that is the fun thing about the charity shop because it's whatever you find,
Yeah.
and somehow you always find something that you love. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Difference is then go to a shop and see one T-shirt in a gazillion sizes and a pair of trousers in 5 colors.
Yeah. So when you are going to start a project, do you have an idea of what you want in mind and then you try and source the materials, or do you discover something amazing, for example, in a charity shop or something that you've got that's worn out, and then you think, how am I going to make that into a garment?
Okay, sometimes, for example, when I get in a charity shop and I find a garment that I really like it, but it needs adjustment, I just get it and then adjust it according to what I need to do. And regarding to the garment, sometimes I do have, actually, this is what happened. For example, I'm obsessed with Wendy's or like her patterns and everything she does.
Yeah,
And
Wendy Ward,
yes, Wendy Ward.
who was on episode 2 of this podcast.
Yay, Wendy.
Full circle.
I mean, exactly. I love her approach. I love her idea, her philosophy, everything. And I love her raglan sleeve sweatshirt. And
Yes.
actually, I made like few of them.
Yeah,
Using
you make
different...
some incredible sweatshirts.
No, thank you. And I remember then I was looking like scrolling through Instagram, and now it's becoming very popular. The drop shoulder sweatshirt.
Sure, yeah.
Which actually it doesn't need a lot of shaping. Basically, it's almost a square in the front and the back. When I was thinking about that, and I was looking at all the cutouts of my jersey, I thought this is very easy actually to make because it doesn't need a lot of adjusting.
Yeah.
And that is the approach. It's like, okay, maybe using all these scraps, I can make this kind of garment. I've tried it and it worked.
Yeah, I love your piece together sweatshirts. They're amazing.
I might add, with the sweatshirt in particular, I remember, okay, this is the full story. I saw the drop shoulder and I was drawing the patterns and I realized that it's almost a square. I was like, okay, let me put all the pieces of jersey together. And while I was doing this, I saw Andrew on Instagram that he made the queen chest with this embroidery machine.
Yes, I've seen that on your feed. It looks so cool.
Oh my, yes. And I contacted him. I said, oh my God, I love that. How did you do it? With this embroidery machine. And I said, oh my God, if I send you the jersey, the one that I was going to use for the sweatshirt, would you make me one? And he said, yes, actually, if you want, even like more than one. And I said, oh, yes, please. So I sent it to him and he made this pink queen that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I built the sweatshirt around this piece.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. That was your starting point. It wasn't, oh, I need a sweatshirt. Oh, there's some nice fabric. It's like, I want that motif on this.
Exactly. My starting point was...
So it could be anything. Your starting point could be anything.
Yeah.
When you do your piecing of the sweatshirt fabric, how do you approach that? Do you just get all your fabrics out and then see what colours work together, or...
Okay, with the sweatshirt, because something that I found interesting was I had different kind of black jersey, and it's not the same black. So just by putting it together, you could see all the different shades of black, and that made it very interesting. What I try to use is first the biggest pieces and see if they actually make sense, and then where there are all the little spaces to add the small one. But for example, when I made a shirt, by using all the scraps, most of the scraps of my practicing at the sewing bee. Like the biggest was like this very like khaki green. And then I have all these colorful pieces. And for that, on the floor, I lie down to see like how the color would work together. If you put all the colors on one side or on the other.
Right.
And then by playing it, I arrived to the point where I found the pattern that I liked.
I mean, that must take you quite some time.
Ages. Yeah, because the thing is, it's not sewing because I need the shirt by tonight. It's more work. It's, this will make a really cool shirt. And I say shirt because it's the garment that I use the most, for example.
Sure.
And it's more exactly just like me on my own. I just put all these things, all these pieces on the floor, and I play with them until I find what I like. Because there's no urgency.
Sure.
It's my shirt, and it takes how long I want. Because when I finish it, I'm absolutely obsessed with it. You know what I mean?
Well, you've put so much time and effort into it.
Exactly.
Yes, you've really kind of connected with it. I totally agree. When I've done a couple of piecing projects, it takes forever, but you get totally into it, don't you? And I don't know, often like I'll leave it on the floor and then I'll go out the room and then I'll come back. I'm like, oh yeah, that bit's working really well. Let's.
Yeah. I do exactly the same.
You obviously did a lot of the transformation challenges as part of the Sewing Bee.
Yeah.
So I should explain for anyone, as if there's anyone that hasn't watched the Sewing Bee, but in the Great British Sewing Bee, one of the challenges every week is that the contestants have a short amount of time, 90 minutes, to dream up and create a garment out of unusual, unexpected source materials. So, for example, there was a tent, wasn't there? Or net curtains, or my favourite, scraps from all the previous projects and stuff. I mean, obviously you were reusing fabric and looking at alternative sources of textile before you went on to the Sewing Bee. How did your experience on the Sewing Bee change your upcycling?
I loved it because on the first episode of the Sewing Bee, I completely misunderstood the transformation challenge.
How did you?
Because I thought that you have to transform
it
into something that is completely different.
Right.
So I took a pair of trousers, the biggest that I could find, and I made the top where you couldn't see any of the trousers.
The denim one with the piping down the center,
Exactly. Because it was, okay, you shouldn't know that these were trousers. This, what I thought transformation meant. And I got it absolutely wrong because I got lost. And they say, we can't see any of the feature. I was like, yeah, but because I transformed it. It's like, I thought that was it.
Amazing. Yeah. You didn't even know it was jeans.
Exactly. But then no. So then I realized that you have to use one of the garments and turn it into something else, showing where the garment is coming from, what the garment was.
Was it frustrating only having 90 minutes to do it? Because you say you got quite a considered process normally.
Yes. Okay, I must say at the beginning, 90 minutes is nothing. By the 5th episode, considering how fast the whole thing is, 90 minutes, like, oof, I can make a wedding dress. But it changes your mindset. This is why, like, in 90 minutes what you can do. So,
I mean, how long do you have to think and then immediately start cutting? Like nothing.
And actually, and that is the funny bit, because when they show you what garments you have to use for the transformation challenge, in that moment, you like the first 4-5 minutes or even less is like, okay, I need this. The blue will go well with green and yellow. Okay, these are long enough. Yes, I can make a, jacket out of it.
Yeah.
And everything goes like you can't even think about it. But the one with the scraps, I did use my approach. I put all the pieces together and then I create a bigger fabric to make a dress.
So presumably the producers came up with that challenge to encourage sewers at home to start using alternative sources of fabric and stuff. So have you heard from, I don't know, any viewers or people that follow you on Instagram or anything that you've inspired them to do that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love when people tag me or other people from the Sewing Bee because of those certain challenges. Plus, I think now there are so many people that are showing how beautiful scraps and all these leftover materials can be. And you can see like amazing things. Obviously, starting from Zero Waste Daniel, who can make absolutely anything. Like,
it's incredible. But I mean, he gets to plunder the whole of the New York textile industry.
I know. When you see the videos that he walks on these roads, it's like, oh my God.
I know. And when he's just got all these colors and he can create this incredible palette because of all this. But you think, wow, like the amount of waste that's going on in the textiles industry is bonkers, isn't it?
If you think exactly like when we think about, like, I don't know, something that is very obvious to us because you find it in, plastic, you find it in a park, you find it in the sea, you find it everywhere, without considering that the t-shirt is making like the same damage that those things, but you don't realize that. Okay, you won't throw the t-shirt, your own t-shirt in a street because for obvious reason, but you know what I mean? Once you throw it away, it goes straight into the environment.
Yeah, it's terrifying. So you tried sewing with heaps of different and unexpected fabrics in the Sewing Bee. So which ones did you most enjoy and which ones did you dislike?
The one that it wasn't like more dislike, but more it was quite slippery. It was the tent. That challenge was very weird. I'm not a big fan of people who dress their dogs like humans. First, I live in front of a park and I see on Sundays, like groups of people with dogs and they almost wear the same outfit. I don't know. I don't get it. They say cold. It's like, no, it's not true, because these dogs, they live in the North Pole. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not the Siberian Husky need the gilet, like a crochet jumper. But anyway,
So you had a problem with the entire concept of the challenge to
exactly,
start with.
exactly. Plus, we have to do something. And my idea was to make a doggy bag, basically.
Yeah, which is amazing.
It was silly, my idea. It was like more something to make fun of it. And
Yeah.
you saw handles. The weight of the dog itself will break the handles. They didn't break it because it went all the way down the dog, like it was just wrapping the dog. But yeah, it was very interesting to use it.
Yeah. So you are really fearless when it comes to textiles, I think. And if anyone wants to hear more about your incredible sofa bomber jacket, then it's just so amazing. I'm not going to make you tell me all about it again, because I know that you shared a lot about that amazing project on the Uncut podcast. So I'd
Yes.
really recommend that anybody, if they haven't already heard it, go to episode 41 on the Uncut podcast and hear all about your incredible sofa jacket journey. So are there any materials or fabric types that scare you, or are there any ones that you want to try that you haven't sourced yet?
Okay, something that, for example, I haven't used it, but I think it might be fun. At work, I teach the textile class, and we get a lot of scraps from the scrap project. And we got, before the pandemic, we got a lot of faux leather. And it's very, very colorful. So that might be an interesting fabric to use.
Yeah.
I never used it because, I don't know, it's a mix. It looks like leather, but it's very stretchy. So I don't know, can you make with it? I'm assuming what I would make, like either a jacket or coat or something that goes on the top, because the bottom might be a bit uncomfortable if you wear like plastic on your legs.
Yeah, a bit sweaty.
And something that I love, upholstery fabric.
Yes.
I love upholstery fabric.
So is that something you've sewn with?
Yes. I have a jacket, like I made a bomber jacket, and the back and the inside linen is all upholstery. Okay, first, the pattern is beautiful. It's like this Mexican style flowers and skulls and things. And it's very easy to sew because it's very structured. It's quite thick, but not too heavy.
Yeah. So denim needle and you're away, probably.
Yeah.
So what is your strategy for dealing with scraps of fabrics and leftovers from other projects? Like, what do you keep? What do you discard? Do you have a sorting system? Can you give us some tips?
Okay. Generally, I keep absolutely everything.
Okay.
I have maybe 3 or 4 boxes with all the scraps that I use.
Right.
Whatever I do, I try to get the least amount of waste as possible. But yeah, I keep all the scraps, and I'll try, even though I'm not very comfortable, but you can still sit on them, to make cushions.
Sure.
Like I use like to stuff cushions,
Yeah.
because during the pandemic, I made so many cushions. All my flatmates wanted to make cushions. I made cushions for my friends. So
Really? So is it like a soft play in your flat now?
correct, yeah. Yeah, my sofa is like beautiful. It's so
Everyone's just lounging all the time.
exactly. You can't see the actual sofa. Or I have like other scraps that are very colorful. And now my plan is, I don't know, at some points I want to put them all together and see either if I can make a quilt,
Yeah.
because I never made one.
Oh, is that the plan? You're going to make a quilt?
Yeah, maybe. I love the fact that by using those teeny tiny triangle or hexagon, you can make absolutely anything. You see
Yeah.
some patterns and some drawings that are beautiful.
Some people's use of colour is just amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
I just want to steal their ideas though, because my mind doesn't work like that. I'm like, I just want to make that exact one.
Yes. Okay. I guess you would have an image in mind and you start to create it with the small pieces. But considering how small the pieces is and how beautiful the final product is, incredible.
Yeah. I think it would just take forever.
Yeah.
And then you've got this massive thing, and like, how do you, I mean, there's one thing like making like the top, but then I think there's companies, isn't there, that you can just send it away at that point? Yeah, I think so. And they do the actual
Quilt.
putting it together, quilting, and maybe the edge or something, which I quite like the idea. Like, you do that bit.
Yeah, also because I'm assuming, like, if I do it for my bed, well, I don't know, it needs to be like, I don't know, 2 meters wide, so it's very...
Yeah, it'd be like wrestling a whale, I think, at that point, wouldn't it? When it comes to your sewing projects these days, what would you say is your ratio between projects that start with a flat, fresh piece of fabric and those that start with either scraps or existing textiles in some way?
Maybe these days I've done half and half because I have so much fabric from friends or from my sewing buddies and some scrap that I go at work. I would say like maybe half and half.
Have you got a project on the go at the moment?
I won't because I don't use much linen as I should. And at work,
So where do you work?
I work for a charity. It's called Core Arts.
Right.
That is basically it's a charity that supports people with mental health issues through creative learning. The concept is an art college. And there are different disciplines. There's music, art, gardening, and sports. And I belong to the art department and I teach fashion and textiles.
Amazing.
And we work with the scrap project. And before the pandemic, we got like few deliveries. And one was collection of swatches of Irish linen. And they said, because they asked me, do you need some? I was like, yeah, sure. When they say some, I thought a bag.
Yeah.
And they came with like 3 massive boxes of this Irish linen of absolutely every color that you can think of. And first, I think I was like, okay, I'm definitely making something out of this. And also, even for the student, it's very easy to learn because you use the small swatches one after the other, and it's easy to follow lines, to sew around the square, and then to create a bigger fabric, and then you make it. So actually, I think as a beginner, especially for someone who wants to learn, it might be very easy to get eased into sewing.
So what can you see that linen becoming?
A shirt, because I'm going on holiday for a very short holiday on Saturday. It is in Greece, so it'll be very hot. And I think a shirt, like a linen shirt, is what I need.
You better get going then.
I know. Yes, as soon as I finish here.
Oh, really? I'm cutting into your shirt making time. I'm so sorry.
No, absolutely not. Don't worry.
What colours are you using?
All of it.
All of them.
It's very colorful. I think it's yellow, red, blue. So let's see.
Okay, so we better be quick then because you've got a shirt to make. If someone is new to sewing and wants to do it with sustainability in mind, what advice would you give them? So say, for example, they haven't managed to accrue lots of fabric scraps and stuff yet because they're quite new. What would you suggest?
I think, if you want to be like sustainable, you haven't sewn anything yet, but you want to try give it a go. Maybe you can use something that is already in your house. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, bed sheets are very good for a beginner.
Yeah, true.
Because it's cotton and it's very easy to cut and things. Or, I don't know, tablecloth. But, for example, because the class before COVID, I was teaching classes for beginners. And at the beginning, I thought maybe they can make, like the typical beginner's project, either a cushion or a bag or something. But then I thought, what's the point of making a tote bag that maybe you already have like 5 of them at home? Make it something that maybe you can wear. So I came out like with the pajama shorts that not necessarily can be a pajama, because if you make them very well, you can wear them wherever you want. And I was encouraging all the students if they wanted to get a new fabric, otherwise they could use like bed sheets or tablecloths or anything.
Which is often really nice because they've been washed loads anyway, so they're really nice and soft.
There were few students, and one came with a shower curtain. So I was like, wow. I was like, wow, that is ultimate recycling.
Yeah. It's like, literally, what have you got? Take this.
Exactly. Let me take this. Yeah.
So can you tell me of some sewers or businesses related to sewing sustainability that inspire you?
I love Zero Waste Daniel. I love his approach. I love everything. Wendy Watts is obviously, she's in my heart. I love Fabrication Hackney. What Barley does is incredible. And I talked with her, and like what impressed me about Barley is not only her approach to sustainability and to recycling, but also how to keep your the clothes with you, how to give like a more life, because one of the project is transforming garments that belong to someone who, I don't know, maybe died or who left, transform it to something else that can be still with you. So you remember this person by. I know, it's incredible.
Did you do a project with Fabrications?
Yes. So I did teach some classes in fabrications, some zero waste workshop. I found it very interesting how my approach is completely different to yours. It is completely different to someone else.
Completely.
And I guess there are so many factors that might change, that might contribute to a different outcome. It can be, I don't know, your taste, what you have available, the technique that you know to use. And yes, I found that Bali, is in my top list. And I was talking about zero waste fashion design, all the concept. Timo Rissanen and Holly McKillen.
Right.
They do really, really cool stuff.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I've really loved talking to you. I really hope that you'll consider coming back and talking to me again in the future.
Yes, definitely. I love it. I find it very fun. I love this conversation. And then this can help other people recycling, upcycling. Absolutely. Let's have more of those.
Totally. I loved getting into the nitty gritty of the how, because as you say, everybody has a different approach. Learning about that will inspire you to try that or work in a slightly different way. And yeah,
absolutely. And I've seen projects where they use like fabric and with a mix with like knitting and crocheting, and then you can do beautiful pieces. It's incredible.
Yeah. The sky is the limit.
Correct.
Speaking of the sky, have an amazing holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Riccardo.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and are left feeling inspired. For more info about the podcast, including show notes for this and every episode, head to checkyourthread.com. I'd love to hear from you, so if you have any comments, questions or ideas for future episodes, please get in touch by emailing zoe@checkyourthread.com or find me on Instagram @checkyourthread. Massive thanks to Patrick Potter for production support, to Sylvia Seller for the awesome logo design, and to Simon at Palm Skin Productions for the music. This ad-free podcast would not be possible without listener support, so if you feel you are able, please consider signing up to the Check Your Thread Patreon. For the equivalent of buying me a coffee each month, you'll be making it possible to continue producing regular episodes. Links can be found in the show notes and on the website checkyourthread.com. I hope you'll listen again next week. Until then, take care. Bye!